Oh my God. I mean, are you confused or just that ambitious?
Both, yeah.
Okay, well, go dive into both of those then.
I say cursed with ambition because
I believe that each and every one of us has the power within ourselves to create the life that we really want. And I want to help give you the tools to make that happen. I'm Danica Patrick, and I'm Pretty Intense. Today on the Pretty Intense podcast, I said the name of the podcast because I think it's appropriate. Because today I spoke with Nate Boyer, who is a former Green Beret, a former NFL long snapper, and was also a good friend in giving Colin Kaepernick some advice to take a knee instead of sitting on the bench, which we all know made a lot of news. I didn't even scratch the surface on all the things that he's done. He is always looking for the next thing that he's drawn to. He goes all over the place. He's been all over the world. He's snuck into countries to go help them out when he wasn't even allowed in. I mean, he's just a different thinker. And he's just done a lot of really amazing things. So it was fun to talk to him about what motivates him. I actually asked him whether or not he was confused or really inspired because he's done so many fantastic things. But he brings a fresh attitude towards not being afraid to change your mind and do something new. So I hope you're inspired because I sure was. Enjoy. I wrote this down because I don't want to get it wrong, and I want to make sure everyone understands to some degree your ambition levels. So you solo backpacked in Europe and Central America, fisherman in San Diego, you're a big brother and mentor for autistic kids, you volunteered at a refugee camp in Darfur, climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, you're an actor, you took firefighting classes, and you played college and NFL football. Did I leave anything really important out of that, or?
Military.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. That's a whole bullet point later. The entire military situation that lasted for 9 years?
Yeah, 9 years.
9 years. So yeah, other than that 9-year thing. Oh my God. I mean, are you confused or just that ambitious?
Both, yeah.
Okay, well, go dive into both of those then.
I say cursed with ambition because I mean, I love it. I love chasing all those things and you know, it's never about achieving really. I mean, yes, you want to achieve, but it's the hustle and learning a new skill for me and kind of uncovering whatever the mystery is of this thing that I don't know how to do and now I want to learn it. Huh. I'm obsessed with that. And yeah, and then once I sort of accomplish it, I feel all right, let's move on to something else. Let's try something else. But all those things have been motivated by sort of the thing I did before. It kind of led into the next deal, if that makes sense.
Do you have I mean, for me, I know my life changes every couple of years in ways I'll never expect, and it just kind of seems to go like that. Do you feel like you find sort of that oh yeah, a couple of years have gone by, I'm bored, or is it, because you said it didn't have to do with succeeding at that one thing, it's more about learning about it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to succeed, but right. The part I enjoy is when it's a new thing and I'm trying to crack the code on it, and I get excited when it's just this unknown situation, especially something that's challenging.
Yeah.
I'm sure, I mean, everything I've done, other millions of people have done. It's just I hadn't done that thing yet, and I hadn't done this thing yet, and then once I kind of get into it, I get the sensations in my body that you're just I don't know what that is, the endorphins or whatever, when it's something that's really motivating to you, and it's going to be tough, but you can see somehow that light at the end of the tunnel, and maybe if I can make this thing happen, I'll wow myself. I don't know.
I think like that too. I'm oh, this workout's going to be so hard, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking, I'm going to go to Darfur. I'm going to hike Mount Kilimanjaro. I'm going to go to the military. I decided I want to go to the NFL. I might not think on the scale that you're thinking as far as achieving a new, learning a new talent. What has been the hardest one?
Oh, I mean, I think odds-wise, probably the NFL, to be honest, just because I'm not a great athlete, I'm really not.
You offended so many people right there by saying that.
Well,
I made it to the NFL, but I'm just not really that athletic.
I got cut in like 5 minutes, so it's like, it's all right. No, but like, But
you played college for 5 years, so obviously you're talented.
Yeah, I think, yes, somewhat athletically inclined, I think, but I just worked really hard, and I like had to find a niche because I wasn't fast enough to play safety like I wanted to, right? So I had to discover long snapping, which is a thankless job, and it was something that I could compare to skills I learned in the military, and if I just stuck with it, committed, and understood that I'm probably going to suck at this thing for a few months, eventually, it's going to go one way or the other. I'm either going to figure it out or I'm just not, and I'll just move on and do something else. But I think most people just quit, I mean, you think of like, we're talking about workouts, like P90X. I mean, of all the P90Xs that were sold, I bet not that many percentage-wise actually were completed.
Did it?
Yeah.
Totally. I have a workout program in my book. The name of the show, Pretty Intense, comes from the name of my book because it's just really honestly a very accurate descriptor of me. But, the people that did the program, the people that, there was only, I did a focus group and there was 700 people that signed up to do the focus group test.
Okay.
And I mean, probably 40 finished, you know what I mean? You're like, gosh. So here's what I feel like this is what I'm hearing quick and sudden at the beginning here, is that there's no way you do all these things without having a big disconnection and a lack of fear for failure.
I think I do still fear it though. But
you just said if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
But that's sort of what motivates me. Like I kind of I know if I'm a little bit nervous about something or afraid of something, that's the right thing for me. Like I'm attracted to that. You know what I mean? And I think most people would run away from that. So it's not that I don't recognize it or feel it. It's just that for whatever reason, I'm okay with it.
So you feel that fear and excitement equally, or you feel them both, right?
Yeah,
you're excited about it, but you're like, God, I'm scared of this.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm scared shitless, but hey, let's go climb that mountain.
You gotta feel that racing. You have to have some fear.
No, I just drive slower.
I mean, there's no way you're right. You have to have some. There's never and maybe it's not the speed you're racing at or a fear of a wreck or whatever, but it's it
was actually what I feared.
Making a mistake or whatever.
When people ask me what I feared, I said I fear failing.
You're right, exactly. Exactly.
So what was...
Or fear quitting. I fear quitting, and
yeah.
Or I fear the regret of chickening out on something that I know I want to do deep down. You know what I mean? So that's
was
that's
there
a stronger
you did chicken
fear.
out on?
Not yet.
Obviously, my list went on. I've left out a 9-year element.
I've failed a lot of things, but I've yet to, maybe relationship-wise a little bit, but we don't need to get into that.
Well, maybe you shouldn't be so busy.
Exactly. But besides that.
What of those things have been the most fulfilling?
I would say, well, you know what? I mean, I think the easy answer would be the military stuff because, it was 9 years of my life. I learned so much from that, from the men and women I fought alongside and the experiences.
I feel like there's some magic in the military as far as the brotherhood, the camaraderie, the selflessness, there's something in it because I don't feel like there's very many people that come away from an experience in the military and have bad things to say about it. So maybe tell me about that.
Yeah, I think part of it is that those intense circumstances. You know what I mean? That elevates connection. I think because you go off to basic training or whatever unit you're in, and we're the most diverse microcosm in America. Large one anyway. There's over 1 million people at a given time that wear camouflage and different religions, skin colors, beliefs from every state and other countries.
Yeah.
And we don't all like each other. We don't all get along. But we figured out and we sort of rise above all the bullshit and are willing to do whatever it takes to protect the man next to us. And because we know they would do the same for us. And when your life's on the line, you literally feel that, it just, I mean, it's a tough question. I don't know what it is exactly. It's the training you go through. I mean, when you have that intense, those intense training moments where you don't have a lot of food, you've been up for days.
That wouldn't work.
It sucks. It's like you're cold, wet, tired, miserable, all that stuff. You have to lean on the people around you. You have to have that community.
So it's a vulnerability, perhaps.
Yeah, there is a vulnerability for sure.
Because you're physically exhausted, you're mentally exhausted, your life is on the line, you're asking for help, right? Because you can't do it by yourself. So, there's an amazing connection that happens when we say we need help,
right?
Because you're trusting someone else, which creates a bond.
Yeah, and it's like counter to what society tells us is tough and strong, asking for help. But the reality is it's stronger, admitting like I need help in this moment. I'm not 100% okay. Like things are tough right now. I could use a hand. But like we've been conditioned our whole lives to think that's like, no, the strong person just like doesn't ask for help, does it on their own.
Can do everything.
Yeah, just tough it out. And it's completely wrong.
Do you think that it's something that has, if you haven't necessarily thought about it, sort of in an obvious cognitive way, that is the magic of it almost. Do you feel like the experience of that has seeped into other things that you've done as far as like the camaraderie and the bonds and the friendship and asking for help and trusting other people? Did you see that infiltrate other parts of your life after?
Yeah, I mean, unknowingly, when I got out of when I came off of active duty and went to college, I went to University of Texas. I was 29 years old, so I was like, 10 years older than the other freshmen, and there was fear in that moment of like, I'm not going to fit in. No one's going to understand me at all. It's
going to be like Adam Sandler in Old School and Billy Madison,
where
he shows up to high school with a T-shirt, he's got a jean jacket on, his collar popped, and everybody's looking at him like, who's he? Who's the old guy?
Yeah, I piss my pants, and all that stuff.
If peeing your pants is cool, then consider me Miles Davis.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I had that, and unknowingly, I mean, I had this like dream of goal of like, I want to play football. I've never played before, and I regret it. And so I'm going to go walk on and make the team. I'm just going to make it happen. And, unknowingly, that helped me transition to that next stage in life because of that locker room and the team and like, as you talk about those similarities. And if I just applied that same work ethic and tried to be a leader in that same way for these young guys, because I mean, these incredible athletes, but a lot of them, they're very young, they don't have a lot of life experience.
Yeah.
And it's tough, you're going out there, you're playing in front of 100,000 people, like a right away, and you got to go to, make grades in class, and you got 40, 60 hours a week of practice film.
And you're looking at them going, yeah, but you don't have a gun pointed at you.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's gonna be okay.
It's not that bad.
Not that bad.
That's exactly it, though. It was like trying to, help relate other experiences to them, but also like push that strength and vulnerability, to them, and like help them understand that if you need help on something, or if you're not out there playing for the person next to you, just like we did in the military, fighting for the man on our left and right. The team's not going to win. Like, we're not going to be successful. And that first year I was on the team, I didn't play that first year. I was redshirting, but we weren't good. We lost a lot of games, And I didn't really say a lot that year. I'm not saying we got better because I stepped up, but I just felt like if I'm not playing, it's hard for me to, even though I'm with my background, to be that leader in the locker room. I feel like I need to be on the field. So then once I got on the field and was playing, I was like, okay, now I can speak
some
up.
Credibility.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, with all that being said, the thing in my life that shifted the most, that kind of affected me more than anything, was actually, it was only 6 weeks or so, but that time in the Darfur doing the relief work, because it was what led me to the military, and I was completely lost before.
So how old were you when you went to Darfur?
I was 23.
Okay.
So I got out of I graduated high school, thought I wanted to be a firefighter, went to firefighter school down in San Diego. It wasn't that I didn't want to be a firefighter, I just wasn't really ready to grow up, I think. And it was a very, like, you got to take that seriously.
Boys just take a lot longer than girls. It's okay.
That's true. That's very true. Still working on it. And then I started working on a fishing boat down there just to make money, and I loved it. And it was pretty good money for an 18-year-old kid. So I did that for like a year, and then I moved up here and, odd jobs. And then 9/11 happened, and I started thinking about the military, but still didn't join right away because I just wasn't sure what I would do, and I just didn't know if I could handle it. I didn't believe in myself at that time. I was a very different person.
Oh, really?
Just hard on myself, and just, I don't know, insecure, whatever.
Okay.
It was just like, that was my hardest phase. Some kids, it's younger. Like you said, boys mature slow. For me, like, my early 20s were not it was a dark time. And I read about what was going on in the Darfur, the genocide, in a Time magazine article, and wasn't leaving anything important back here, so I decided to just go over there and figure it out. And I got there, talked my way onto a UN flight, and got out to the refugee camps and volunteered for like 6 weeks.
You snuck out there, is that right? Like, tell the story about that, because people are trying to probably get out, and you're trying to get in.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to go with like Doctors Without Borders or one of those organizations,
right.
And I called them all, but because I didn't have a college degree, and it was like 6 months of red tape and, I don't know, some kind of training stuff, they wouldn't let me go. But I was like,
you were more ready.
I was ready, and I was like, I'm reading about how you're understaffed at the camps, like, you need people, and I'm like, I'll do anything. I mean,
it's like people having to pay for dogs at the shelter, or adopting a child. It's like these animals and children need homes. Why are you making it hard?
Right. Yeah, no, that's what it felt. That's what it felt like, for sure. But just showing up there helps, though. I mean, there was a few people that were like, people thought I was in the CIA. I got like interrogated, all this crazy stuff, and I didn't have anything. But after I kind of shared with them why I was there, and like, look, I need a purpose, and I feel like this is it right now. And they let me help. And it completely changed me, just spending the time with those people. But also, like, I developed this patriotism that I didn't really have while I was there about my country, just because I was so grateful for what we had, finally. And also, I was like thinking about, in history, the United States is often stood up for other countries, for people that can't fight for themselves, like these people. And
I came back from England after living there for 3 years and racing, definitely not like, saving lives or anything. And I got an American flag, checkered flag tattoo, because I wasn't like, I don't like other countries, but I was like, America's pretty great.
It is pretty great. It's maybe the best, probably the best. But yeah, I came back, and it was like, we'd already been in Afghanistan, now we were going into Iraq, and so they were like, they needed more troops. And I came back and found out about this Special Forces program where you could come in off the street if you passed like psych eval and language aptitude.
You must have passed the psych eval.
Barely, by the skin of my teeth. I lied. They didn't hook me up to an EKG, and I was like, I'm totally sane. And they're like, we believe you.
Trusted you. Yeah. Wow, you're just very trusting. You look very trusting.
Yeah, well, that's on them.
So you said that there was a dark time in your 20s, but maybe what I want to go to before that was like, what was your family like?
Family was awesome. I was really blessed, and I think another thing I probably took for granted. I mean, my parents are both super hardworking, very highly educated. My mom got her PhD and is an environmental engineer. My dad is a racehorse veterinarian. They both worked really hard, and brother and sister also like kick ass, super successful. Like just, I have nothing to like blame.
Are you the first, second, or third child?
I was the first. I was the oldest. And I felt a little pressure. I think because my parents were so successful, like not necessarily financially, but just what they achieved their dreams and like crushed it. You know what I mean? And they were both super smart. My mom like never got a B. You know what I mean?
That's a difficult standard, Mom.
It's tough. Plus, she like worked full time. I mean, my dad works like 70, 80 hours a week. Wow. Sometimes like the racehorse world is it's full time. Yeah. Beyond full time. But my mom was working a full time job too, and then raising the three of us kids and like making dinner every night and like all the chores.
They were hardworking role models.
Yeah, and like
That's
never.
Why you have such a long list of things you've done.
And they made it look easy.
Yeah.
And so I ran from that.
So then what the hell happened in your early 20s then? Why did you feel a lack of purpose?
I don't know. I think I just, it's a great question. I really don't know. I don't know where it came from, why I felt like I didn't matter, but I just remember thinking, things like if I wasn't around, the world would keep spinning exactly the same and it wouldn't make a difference. You know what I mean? And that's like scary stuff.
Yeah.
Never thought about hurting myself or anything like that, but
Right.
I felt like I had no place.
Just
you
that
know
you
what
weren't
I mean?
important.
I just didn't belong. I felt like I belonged more those 6 weeks in Africa than I ever had in my life.
Well,
which is
maybe
so
that
weird.
emotion of feeling like you didn't matter was what made you able to dive in so deep into doing something that really mattered,
Right.
because that's
think
what
you're
you were
exactly right.
lacking and that's what they needed. And you're like, oh my God, that's what I've been feeling. I need a purpose.
Yeah.
These people need my help.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll sneak in.
Yeah, exactly.
Use my charming qualities to let them have me stay so I can help.
Exactly. No,
Okay,
that's
so that was
right.
and then it was a 6 weeks transformation.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I
Amazing.
came back and like felt like I could do anything now. You know what I mean? And
Wow.
Still think that, kind of naively,
good.
but
No, it's true.
If you
I
have a
mean,
little bit of naivety, it's not a bad thing.
My favorite quote is, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. It's very true. And my last week there, I got malaria. And
Fun.
it was like, it was
What's
terrible.
that like?
You want me to go into details?
I kind of want you to give an overview of malaria so that I can know that if I travel to certain countries, like, I'll get the shot,
Yeah. Well, I took the pills.
Oh, you took the pills.
it
Oh,
didn't
skip
work.
that then. I'll just
Didn't
take my
work.
chances.
Yeah, exactly. Just risk it. You're fine.
How long are you sick for if you get malaria?
I was like really bad for like 3 days. 3 days of like couldn't really sleep because it was hot. I'm in like sub-Saharan Africa and I was freezing cold but sweating bullets at the same time. Couldn't keep anything down. It was bad. Just complete body, like the worst flu you can ever imagine. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It just sucks.
Wow.
But they put the family this really nice family that had absolutely nothing, put me up in they had a little mud hut next to their compound. They put me up in there, like took care of me, looked after me. They had like, one of their nephews, like literally caretaker. And he put a little radio in there with a Bob Marley tape, was the only one they had. So I listened to it like both sides like 3 times and I was done with Bob Marley. I love Bob Marley, but I was like, that's enough. So I was messing around on the stations and the only one I could pick up was BBC Radio.
Huh?
And it was like play-by-play of the Second Battle of Fallujah, which is this really, epic battle in Afghanistan. And after that, it just dawned on me, I'm like, that's what I'm doing next. I'm going to join the military. And I came back and, had my sights set on being a Green Beret.
Wow.
Eventually did achieve that, but yeah, it took a couple years. It's a long training cycle for that. But
I'm getting this feeling like, you're like, and then I got here, and then I just decided this is what I need to do. And it's making me think of a book I read called The Alchemist.
Oh, yeah.
Have you read The Alchemist? Mm-hmm. And how he has an ultimate goal that he's trying to achieve, but he needs to flow enough to kind of like go through the steps to learn the lessons. And it might mean you have to go over here to get over there, but it's all essentially more of a linear path than it feels like.
Right.
So it's like kind of a big question, but is there some ultimate goal with all this that is allowing you to flow through all of these different opportunities and different hits that you get of like, I need to do that? Because realistically, you're actually trying to get all the way over here to the specific goal that you have in mind. And so these are just like part of the process.
Right.
Do you have that?
I don't know exactly what the ultimate goal
Got it.
is.
So you're just confused. Okay,
Yeah.
moving on.
I know I know there's a lot of things I want to do. You know what I mean? And I know time is running out.
No.
So yeah, but I don't know what the ultimate goal is. I just love the process. I think that's the point though. I love that, trying to figure things out and just the hustle of it. Even the rejection and the days you find out you're getting killed off a show and stuff like that.
Fun.
You know?
Yeah, it's good stuff. the ups and downs. If you didn't have the downs, you wouldn't recognize the ups.
Exactly.
So you, after you spent 6 weeks in Darfur and you got malaria and then came home, then you enlisted into the military?
Yep. Joined the Army with that 18 X-ray contract, which was the one I was talking about with for the Special Forces, and went off to basic training shortly after, and then straight into airborne school, and then to Special Forces selection, and then right into the Special Forces qualification course, which is like another year and a half.
Wow. And at some point in time, you got a Green Beret.
Yeah. So after you finish all that training, you get your Green Beret.
Oh, that.
And then you're off, and they start deploying you and stuff.
Amazing. Are there any moments that were defining in that experience? After Darfur and when you were in the military?
Yeah, a couple. Well, I'll tell you first about a person, a guy, a buddy of mine, and then I'll tell you a quick story about like my last deployment, actually.
Yeah.
So, my first deployment was to Iraq, and I just got to this Special Forces team, and so I'm the FNG. And,
everybody knows what that means.
Exactly. And I go overseas, and there's this one specific guy in the team named Brad who's just, he's hilarious, but he's the guy that gives everybody shit, but also like whenever it's time to get work done or whenever anybody needs a hand, like he's the first one to step up. He's just like that kind of guy, you know what I mean? He's always willing and able to be there for you. And we became really close. He was like a mentor to me, even though we were pretty close in age. But I just looked up to the guy because not only that, he married a single mother who had a child with disabilities. And it was, a lot of it was about the kid too. It wasn't just, obviously he loved his wife, but it was like, he knew like this guy needs a father. This is the right thing to do. Because he'd been married before and he was like, I'm never getting married again, and then he meets Lisa and Ethan, the kid, and he just like fell in love with both of them. And I just thought that was really admirable and just, something that I probably wouldn't be, I don't know if I'd be willing to do. I wish I would like to say I would, but, he did that. And he was the one that sort of encouraged me to go back and play football at a high level at a school like Texas. I was thinking of, maybe I'll go play at like a small school. And he was like, no, man, if you go, you're a Green Beret. You have to go to a big school. You'll figure it out. And then my sophomore year, we're playing in the Alamo Bowl against Oregon State. And a week before the game, I was talking to Brad on the phone. I'd just gotten this like Disney Spirit Award at the College Football Awards, which is really corny sounding, and it is kind of corny. But
did Mickey show up? No.
Mickey did not show up. But then, so I talked to him on the phone, and then the next day I got a call from one of the other buddies on our team, and Brad passed away the next day.
Oh, jeez.
And and that was really hard. His wife called me shortly after and asked if I would be a pallbearer in the funeral, and I was like, yeah, of course. And so I talked to Mac Brown, the head coach of the football team, and our game's like in 6 days, and he was like, go take care, do that, and if you make it back, you make it back. And so I did. I went there and was able to carry Brad, just like I feel like he carried so many of us, like the time we were, in service. And
did he pass in service, or was he?
It was in a training accident.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
A training accident?
We were on a skydiving team. And,
never go skydiving. Got it. Writing that down. Never go. Was it skydiving? Never go skydiving.
It was tragic, man. That's
why I say bungee jumping is so much better. I'm like, you got a cord. Like, you don't want to be the first to the 500th jump because that's, they get rid of it after 500 jumps, but you want to be like, 200.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle. So we get back and we're like losing in the fourth quarter, down a couple touchdowns, and all of a sudden, like, we just make this epic comeback. And it was cool because we dedicated the game to Brad, and we were able to come back and win that game, and it was awesome. So that was somebody that I continue to even now like really aspire to not only honor but kind of live like, because he wasn't afraid to take chances and always do the right thing. He was always about doing the right thing.
You met a really amazing human.
Yeah. And then my last deployment, I was actually playing at Texas, so I joined the National Guard while I was in school, and so they would deploy me in the summertime. So I would like do college football, take classes, finish my finals early, and then basically like May till August, I would go to Afghanistan for like a little over 3 months. And it's like my last deployment, like a week or two from coming home. And it was in one of the biggest firefights I've ever been in, like this epic, situation. And the first thing running through my mind was, don't get shot anywhere that you can't come back and long snap. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you get hit.
I think don't get shot is enough. Of a message to hope for.
It could be kind of cool if you just get like grazed, a little like clipped or something. It's like a cool scar. Come on. No?
And then have like PTSD about getting shot afterwards? I don't know about that.
I already got PTSD, it doesn't matter. It's too late.
It's like I have CTE.
Yeah, exactly. And so I whatever, didn't get shot, luckily.
Good.
And but after one of the Afghans we were fighting alongside at the time from the Afghan Special Forces was actually killed, and the medevac helicopter comes in to take his body off, and there was actually 3 Americans and 3 Afghan soldiers that were carrying the gurney out to the bird. And it was like a really symbolic moment for me because in the Special Forces, everything we do is alongside indigenous forces. So we work with Afghans, Iraqis, and they become your brothers in arms as well. And just like, I just remember that last image of these guys like carrying his body, and it was really cool because it was just kind of sort of working together, and it like crushed us as much as it crushed them, losing this guy. And to just sort of feel some of the pride in country that they had developed over that time, even though they live in such a very difficult place with so much corruption and, just really bad stuff.
Yeah.
Not great people everywhere. And, but it was just, it was really powerful for me to experience that.
So you grew to understand we're more alike than different, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And there's camaraderie no matter who you are, where you are, no matter what you look like or where you live.
Yeah, exactly.
We felt that
totally. And we all
commonality.
Bleed the same blood, and like we want the same stuff at the end of the day, mostly.
I've always, obviously I haven't felt that at the level you have with the, risking your life kind of work you're doing, but even just in travel, that people are wonderful.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's supposed to be a scary place or not nice people. I recently was in France. They were nice.
Yeah.
I know. It was amazing. So, that's like a little start into something I want to get to, but so then you decide that you want to play football and you want to play in the NFL. So you make it to the NFL. How did that happen, by the way?
So after I graduated, I played in a senior all-star game called the Medal of Honor Bowl, which was in Charleston. And I didn't know there was going to be like a bunch of scouts there. I just thought it was like you just play in this kind of fun all-star game, but it's sort of that's what they use it for. The scouts go out, they evaluate players and all that. And I had 4 different teams say you need to put on like 40 pounds, but you should give it a shot. So I was like, all right. So I came back to Texas and then moved out here and started training at Jay Glazer's gym, Unbreakable Performance Center. And I didn't put on 40 pounds, but I put on about 30 over the course of maybe 4 months.
What?
And I know. It wasn't all good.
How did you do it?
I ate about 7,000 calories a day.
Got it. So I'm just
cardio out.
asking that as the opposite. Yes, I want to know what not to do. Okay, so eat less. Yes. Caloric deficit is the only way to lose weight. I know that. It's also very hard.
Yeah. It's also very hard to eat 7,000 calories a day.
You probably feel pretty gross at some point in time.
So bad. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're so lucky." I was like, after a week, I felt disgusting.
Oh, I bet.
Like force eating.
Whatever. Anyway, so you make it to the NFL.
Yeah. So the Seahawks signed me as a free agent, and it's a great experience. I played in one preseason game, but just to have the opportunity.
Yeah.
I was up there for about 5 months, and it was cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. And of course, then you have this famous / infamous, depending on how you look at it, situation with Colin Kaepernick and how, you're standing right next to him. I'm not even going to go any further. Just tell me the story of how you were involved with the kneeling.
Right. So, yeah, most people by now know who Colin Kaepernick is and know about his protest during the national anthem. His protest is about police brutality and social injustice, is the best way to put it. And I guess it was August or September, I think August 2016. So we're right before the election. So it's very tumultuous time. It was Trump versus Hillary Clinton, and like this whole, you got to be on one team or the other, and everyone's like, we're already dividing like crazy.
Ugh.
And yeah, it's frustrating, especially I think as a war fighter, because you're fighting for everybody over there.
It's demoralizing to a society.
Yeah,
the more reasons to divide.
Yeah, it is. It's really frustrating. And so, amidst that, Colin starts sitting on the bench during the anthem, and it's like huge uproar. It blew up even more than I think he was prepared for and expected it to. And I wrote this open letter that week to the Army Times, because I'd been reached out to by like Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, all the big publications, but I knew if I do something with
because
them,
they knew you were in the military and because you were standing next to him?
No, I hadn't even met him yet. Just because I've been in the military and because I played for the Seahawks a year before.
Oh, okay.
So it was like, oh, this guy served our country and also played football, so he must be the expert on the anthem and what you should do or whatever. But yeah, it was really what you think. And I didn't want to really say, because I was like, first of all, it doesn't matter a ton what I think. And also, if I take an opinion or a stance, it's just going to cause more issues, it's going to cause more division. But even if I go on a certain network, because of what that network sort of, the agendas they push.
Sure, because they all do have their
it'll put me in like, everyone will assume I believe
certain
all these
light,
things.
Yeah, if you're on CNN, you're one way. If you're on Fox, you're another.
Exactly. And I'm like, I'm not either of those things. Like, some things I like on this side, some things I like on that side, and that's just who I am. And so I wrote it for the Army Times because not that many people read the Army Times, first of all, but second of all, it's not political at all. Like, it's just, it's for the military, whatever. And they posted it the next day, and a ton of sports journalists started sharing it. So it went like crazy viral. And Colin ended up reaching out. I was about to go on, the first interview I was going to do on TV was for NFL Network, because it was also like, all right, it's a sports channel, it's going to be less political. And I knew the people there, I felt more comfortable. And so I'm like in the green room, and Colin's publicist called me and said, hey, Colin's at practice right now. They're playing their last preseason game tomorrow. He's starting. It's down in San Diego. Is there any way you'd be willing to go down there and meet with him before the game? He really wants to talk to you. And I was like, sure. So I go down there. I'm finding out as I head down, it's like military appreciation night. Like the Navy SEALs are going to do a flyover and jump into the stadium. And like, it's San Diego. It's a very military town.
Yeah,
I was like,
for sure.
oh boy, this is going to be big. So I went down, met him in the lobby of the team hotel. And we talked for a couple of hours. And just like you mentioned a second ago, like we had so much more in common than we had different. And like we, disagreed on a few things, but I agreed with a lot of what he had to say, like where it's coming from as far as like, yeah, I want to see things improve. I don't want to see, any cops doing that. And I know, and he acknowledged too, like most of them are really good people.
Right, who wouldn't stand for fairness and justice.
Exactly. And so it was really just like that was the conversation, and by the end of it, he was just like, well, do you think there's another thing, something else I could do, or another way of demonstrating, because I'm not going to stand during the anthem. I've already vowed to not, and I don't want to break that until I feel like things are moving in the right direction and changes are happening. And I was like, I mean, that's a tough question, because no matter what you do, you're going to get criticized. I mean, there's no perfect protest or whatever. It's supposed to be uncomfortable.
Right, it's messy. I mean, it's like there's always pain before growth. So the pain is like, this is uncomfortable for people.
Right, exactly. And I said, but I would offer you this. I think it's important. Right now, you're sitting on the bench, sort of isolated from your team. I think it would look good if you were at least alongside your teammates, whatever you're doing, because they don't all agree with you. A lot of them do, but you're a quarterback. You're a leader of the team, and I just think being alongside them sort of puts you on an equal playing field, and whether that's just optically or for them to like feel like, all right, it's not making it about me. I'm not making it about me. I'm doing this with my guys, and and they may not agree, but I think they would respect you more if you did that. And he said he agreed to that, and then I said, so if you're not going to stand, like, what are you going to do? Because I don't think sitting on the field is a good idea. And he was like, no, I don't think so either. And I said, what if you took a knee instead? I said, as far as I know, kneeling has never really been seen as like a disrespectful act in the history of mankind. It's like people propose to their wives. Look what you did, Nate.
Jeez.
I know. Look what I started. But like,
because I don't remember the sitting part.
Yeah, he sat for 2 games before that, and it was already national news at that point.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a good adjustment. Honestly, I thought it was like, at least he was willing to listen and move in that way. I think that story definitely got lost. Yeah. And part of that was maybe on Colin for not, talking about it, like why he decided to do that instead. But it is what it is. And it was bizarre because, that night, the team invited me to come down on the field and stand with them, stand next to him. I told him I was going to stand, but I would, if he was willing to do that, I would stand next to him. And there's boos coming from the crowd during the anthem. And the anthem was being sung by an African-American Navy sailor. It was just interesting, man. It was crazy. I'm just curious. This is purely curiosity,
as it's not necessarily something you had a hand in, but you did talk to him for hours, and maybe you could tell me how you would do it, but maybe the question is why was it done at his job like that? Why couldn't he go on a little media tour and talk about it? Like, there's plenty of people, I'm sure, that would want to sit down with him, or write a article for some, for a newspaper or a magazine that was in depth about something that he believed in. Like, why was it that he felt like, I need to do it here at the games like this? I think because he knew it would get the attention. With his job, what he does, there's no more impactful time to do that, whether you like it or not. And it started a important conversation, even though the conversations maybe still be going like this too much. It's something we need to talk about. It needs to be addressed. Things need to be fixed. Yeah.
But also there needs to be, in my opinion, a recognition or an acknowledgement that we need good police officers. It's important. And like something that I'm not saying Colin's doing this specifically, but a lot of people throughout this time have sort of demonized all cops. You know what I mean? Or sort of put them in a box.
It's like demonizing a country or a culture because there's one bad one, or like I'm saying, a race or something. They believe in something different.
So it's hypocritical in a lot of ways if you're doing that.
Little general.
Yeah. And if we need better cops, better training, then we need to
fix the system,
encourage it.
Or
we should want people to be police officers. We shouldn't be like, oh, look at another cop did all the time. Yes, of course that, but you need to also acknowledge the good stuff and how difficult that job is, and that they don't get paid.
Give glory for the good.
Yeah.
So you had both sides coming at you too, right? For being disappointed in you.
Yeah, a lot of people in the military too, because
damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Exactly. But
how'd you deal with that?
They're also entitled to their opinions. The only stuff that really bothered me was, especially, I had a couple people that I served with in the Special Forces that, said some, called me disgrace to the Green Beret and stuff like that. Hurt. But otherwise, I was like, there was hardly anybody. I don't even know if I've met anybody yet that has said it to my face, in a hurtful way.
I lived that.
There's definitely been people that have said, I disagree, respectfully, I disagree with your stance and your opinion on it. And I'm like, that's fine. I don't expect you to,
So, tolerance seems to be something that, in general, there's a lack of, in my opinion. Do you agree?
Yeah, for sure. In our country, there's a lot of, from both sides of these issues. You know what I mean? That's something that we need to talk about, is this idea that, patriotism is a conservative value and open-mindedness is a liberal value.
Right.
no. Like there's some of the most closed-minded people I've ever met have leaned very, very far left, and some of the most unpatriotic people I've ever met are very, very conservative. You know what I mean? And they think they're patriotic, maybe, but they're not. You know, because that's what our country should be about. I mean, we are super diverse. We're actually a very charitable country. We have a ton of problems. We have a ton of people, and they're from all over the place. And you know, we're just a crazy melting pot. So like, we have to have tolerance, or we're gonna die. You know, we're gonna implode, no doubt.
How do we change that?
Just get rid of social media.
Yeah.
A lot of ways, but I mean, just getting to know people, you know, communicate, conversate, listen, like really listen to somebody else. Try to put yourself in their shoes. You know, go to those neighborhoods and spend time where other people, you know, live and grow up. And I don't know, I think so too many people like live in their bubbles, whatever their bubble is, and just assume that the other bubble is bad and dangerous and, you know, ignorant and whatever. And it's just stupid. Like, it's wrong. You know? Like you said, we're way more similar.
What are the ways that you feel like you've really learned that?
I mean, a lot of the travel stuff. Really, I mean, going to the Darfur, spending time in the military, deploying. I mean, when you sit down with somebody, for instance, in Iraq or Afghanistan, that's, you know, got a third grade education, and you've got your assumptions about what they are like because of their religion or whatever. Right. And then you sit down there and like you talk about stuff and you laugh about the same stuff.
Right.
And you're like, oh, you actually just want exactly what I want.
Right.
You know? I mean, you just want to belong. You know, you want to be part of something. You want to matter. You want to make a difference. You want to, if you're a father, you want to be a good parent. You know, if you're a daughter, you want to please your mother. Like whatever. It's the same stuff. You know. So. It's just talking though, and once you do that and kind of get past that, you don't see it. You know, people like that are so foreign as like another species or something. You know what I mean? It's like they're just from a different place, but they're
all the ways
the same.
All the ways to divide to me are I don't embrace. You know, like I mean, I think that. You know, it's a lot easier to take away things that divide us than it is almost to like learn tolerance, even though the tolerance would really fix everything. Because if you just assume the best in everyone, that everyone's doing their best basically all the time and you don't know their situation, and that we don't all have to be exactly the same, then you walk through life with a lot more patience. I need to practice that in so many different ways, especially on the road. I'm sure they're doing their best. They just suck at driving.
Right.
And that's a daily battle there. But
but it's not fair.
For them or me? Because this definitely doesn't feel fair for me when they're driving side by side below the speed limit.
But that's something, you're a master. It's a skill. Like, you know, that's not the same. Everyone's like, I don't know. They're like a baby giraffe and you're like a tiger. I don't know.
Okay, so just driving is really my only expertise. But yeah, I feel the same about travel. I really feel like I'm gonna vote for travel being like the new college. I think that Europe does a fantastic job of getting out there and traveling. And I mean, you know, Italy shuts down for a whole month. That's a great idea. But in Europe, I think that they value sort of international travel and living with another family for a year and seeing the world and taking, you know, vacations is something that is a part of their culture. And I think that, you know, I don't know what it's like to live in another country. Maybe everybody's just as sensitive as us, but I feel like we here can get quite sensitive of other things going on when it's not in our comfort zone or not familiar. Like we are scared of what we don't know. Yeah. And the best way to correct that is to get out there and meet people you don't know, see things you don't know, eat food you don't know, experience a culture you don't know, check out a religion you don't know. I think at the root of it all, as you said, the most important thing is we really all want the same thing. We all want to be, I don't think you're ever going to barely meet anyone that doesn't want to be happy and have peace and joy in their life and you know, just in general have a calm, easy breezy life. But we make things out to be a bigger deal than they really need to be. And I'm sure I do this about certain things too, but it's that victim mentality, that division mentality.
It's human nature. We all backslide into those things. Like, even like entitlement, I think people assume because you're military, they're like, oh, you must still get up at 5 a.m. and work out every day at 6 and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, like I get back to the States from a deployment and I get comfortable and then I get lazy and then I bitch about stuff that I shouldn't bitch about, just like everybody else. Like, because it's not, because it's nice here and it's good and there is a lot of opportunities and anyway, but that's like, what's a common thing is you constantly have to like battle that even in yourself, whatever that is, tolerance too. Because you're gonna be judgmental, like you can't help that. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have my moments where I see something and I just assume something. You know what I mean? But it doesn't mean it's the truth.
I've found that the best way to do that, because I've done that in my life too, or thought the worst, or judged something, that once you can identify when you've done it, because that's the first step, is to go, I need to correct my negativity and be more positive. And then you catch yourself, somebody walking by going like, oh, look at her. And they're like, that was negative. Like, that's totally uncalled for. And then the first thing is recognizing it, then say something nice, right? So then the next thing is go, you know what? She's probably doing her best, like she's probably maybe she's having a tough day. Like, I don't know what she dealt with this morning or what she just walked away from. So you correct it with a positive thought. And then over time, you start to automatically go to the positive thought. And it's not possible to never have a negative thought or a judgmental thought. That's just human nature. That's just being human. But you, over time, develop a better thought pattern and reflex and intuition about people, as opposed to just judging right out of the box. So, but I do believe that I agree with you that travel is the quickest way to have a damn good time, but also to really learn that we are all more alike than different.
Exactly.
So, you've lived this giant life and you've done amazing things. And, is there any other jobs that you'd like to get confused in for a little while in the near future?
I'm working on it right now. I'm getting very confused in the film and television industry. So.
I'm kidding. You're very inspirational.
It's fun. No, but I am always a little bit, trying to figure. That's the part that I like.
As humans, we can evolve. As people, we can evolve. I mean, it's okay to have a new job. It's okay to change.
Yeah.
I think that's something I had to face in my own career, as far as learning the difference between quitting and letting go at the end. I was like, I know that you know me this way as a race car driver, but that doesn't have to be me just because that's what you're used to.
Yeah.
Even if that's just because that's what I'm used to. I can go do something completely different and still be me.
Yeah.
And so, learning that difference between quitting and letting go, and just ready for a new phase, a new transition, and not necessarily a rebirth, but a growth and expansion.
Right. Yeah.
Enjoy life. Shit's short. It's going to be over soon.
It's very short.
So tell me about what's next.
Yeah. But that's a good segue into the charity work. It's MVP, which stands for Emerging Vets and Players. I co-founded it with Jay Glazer. And we're bringing together combat vets and former professional athletes and helping them find purpose and that newfound identity when the uniform comes off.
Sure.
And one of the things we talk about, very similar to what you were just saying, is this idea that you're not the uniform you wore or the job that you did. You're the person who was willing to sacrifice so much to become elite, outwork everybody. You had that grit. Well, you have that grit, that determination, that relentlessness to succeed. And you can use that and should use that in any facet of life. And if you can just be willing to try things and get back out there, there's plenty that you could absolutely crush. It could be anything. And just because you haven't been doing it your whole life, it doesn't matter. Life is short, but at the same time, I think it's a very American thing too, to get stuck in this idea of well, if I grow up wanting to do this and I go to college for that, I have to do that forever. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's the same with athletes, veterans, all this stuff. It's not true. You can do 17 different things.
Yeah.
And be really good at all of them, you know what I mean? And you have to obviously commit and put the work in, but it's never too late. And we're seeing so many of our veterans and our athletes now that are starting to really buy into that and believe it. And they're getting back out there, and it's not just finding a job, it's like kicking ass at that job and, creating something that's never been done before and doing it differently because you have these other experiences. You're like, well, I know of this industry, they've done things this way for forever, but when I was playing ball or when I was in the military, this is how we sort of cracked the code on stuff. We did kind of reinvent the wheel because it's a better wheel. And, why not? Why can't I do that? Why can't I go, be whatever I want to be all you can be?
Somebody has to do something for the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
Might as well be you.
Exactly.
I always say, might as well be me.
Right. So it's just like, it's funny too, like kind of pushing that narrative, but also sitting back and watch these guys that have succeeded at such a high level be willing to go back and like, you know what? I might have to spend a couple months in the mailroom, but I'm going to be the best freaking mail clerk they've ever seen, and they're going to pull me out of there, and then I'm going to move here, and then I'm going to meet, the head of this department, and he's going to hear my story and be like, holy crap, dude, you played in the league for 10 years, or you were in the military, like, wow. And now you're like, this is what you want to do? Like, it's going to use your story. Like, use that.
Is part of this program, does it include, is there sort of neurological work?
No, not with us. We partner with other organizations that do a lot of that stuff.
Okay.
But for us, it's really just about the community.
Yeah.
I mean, on a weekly basis, we meet at the gym, we train together for about an hour, and then we hang out on the wrestling mats afterwards for another hour, and we just talk about stuff.
Just lay around.
Exactly.
Guys hanging out on the mat.
There's girls
just laying
too.
Around.
It's a good mix.
I suppose, of course.
Yeah.
Of course there is.
But we just, and it's a very vulnerable time. Like a lot of the people, they talk about stuff they've been holding in for years.
Again, that vulnerability is where you create bonds because you've just said to somebody, I trust that you're not going to judge me. Right. I trust that you're not going to take advantage of me now. I trust that you're still going to like me after I say this. I trust that we're still going to be friends. And, that vulnerability is a connection point. And as you said at the beginning, that could be a point of weakness when we think we should do everything ourselves. And so, I love that. I think the world needs a whole lot more tolerance and vulnerability, and we're gonna have a great world then.
That's right. We're getting there.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're still pretty new.
That's true. Only 3.4 billion years. How long has this planet been around? Right. Something like that.
You're probably right. I have no idea.
Human history is a question, though. If you listen to anyone like Graham Hancock or something like that, then you'll be like, how long have humans been here? That's for another podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I guess you got to define human first.
That's for also another podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thanks, Nate.
Thank you very much, Danica. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to the Pretty Intense podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like what you heard today and you want to hear more, please click on the subscribe button.